What if I told you that border disputes play a significant role in global peace? Yes, you heard it right. Global peace, that elusive dream we all share, is intricately linked to the resolution of border disputes. Now, you might wonder, why border disputes? Well, these territorial disagreements often lead to conflicts, wars, and even potential triggers for World War III. From Russia's annexed territories to the friction in the South China Sea, from the discord over the Abyei region between Sudan and South Sudan, to the enduring contention between India and Pakistan over Kashmir, these disputes aren't just about land. They're about history, identity, resources, and power. And let's not forget the tense situation between China and Taiwan, or the Himalayan border dispute between India and China. Even in South America and the Middle East, territorial disagreements create ripples that can be felt worldwide. As we dive into the history and current status of these disputes, consider what their resolution might mean for global peace. Our journey begins with one of the oldest border disputes, between Russia and its annexed territories. This vast nation spanning 11 time zones is no stranger to territorial disputes. It has locked horns with numerous neighbors over the years, each conflict different from the last. Let's start with the long-standing dispute over the Kuril Islands, a string of volcanic islands stretching between Russia and Japan. The islands are home to rich fishing grounds and potential oil and gas reserves, making them highly coveted. Moving west, we find Russia and Latvia entangled over the Pytalovsky Rayon. This small region, though lacking in natural resources, carries significant historical and cultural importance for both nations. Russia's territorial issues extend even to its eastern neighbor China. The two giants have disputed over parts of Tarabarov Island and Bolshoi Ussuriski Island. These conflicts, though seemingly minor, have significant geopolitical implications. Turning our attention to the Caspian Sea, we find Russia and its coastal neighbors wrangling over the sea's boundaries. The Caspian Sea, home to rich oil and gas reserves, has been a hotbed of territorial contention for decades. Lastly, let's visit the Estonian border. Russia and Estonia have been at odds over their adjoining border since Estonia regained its independence in the early 90s. This dispute, steeped in complex historical and political contexts, continues to strain relations between the two countries. Each of these disputes tells a story of historical grievances, national pride, and a struggle for resources. They are not merely local issues confined within national borders, they have far-reaching implications for regional stability and international relations. While these disputes may seem distant, their implications ripple across the globe. As we move forward in our journey, we'll delve into more such disputes and their potential to shape our future. So, buckle up as we navigate through the intricate and often tumultuous world of border disputes. Shifting our focus to the South China Sea, we find another hotbed of territorial conflict. This region has been a long-standing stage for disputes, with the spotlight often falling on China and the Philippines. The South China Sea, an expanse of water spanning over 1 million square miles, is rich in natural resources and serves as a critical commercial waterway. It's a treasure trove of fish, oil, and natural gas, making it a desirable asset for any nation. However, its ownership is a topic that has sparked much controversy and disagreement. China claims the majority of this maritime region as its own, asserting its indisputable sovereignty over the area. The country's claim is based on a historical map referred to as the Nine-Dash Line, which outlines a U-shaped area covering about 90% of the South China Sea. This claim has been contested by several countries, including the Philippines, who argue that China's territorial claim violates international law. In the Philippines' perspective, China's claim encroaches on its own exclusive economic zone, a sea zone prescribed by the United Nations, over which a state has special rights regarding the exploration and use of marine resources. This has led to numerous confrontations between the two nations, with accusations of intrusion and territorial violation being thrown from both sides. In 2016, an international arbitration panel concluded that China's position had no basis under international law. However, China rejected the ruling, maintaining its claim and continuing its activities in the disputed areas, including building artificial islands and military installations. The South China Sea dispute is not just a regional issue, but a global concern. It's a challenge to international law and freedom of navigation, affecting not just the countries directly involved, but also others that rely on this critical waterway for trade and commerce. It's a complex and delicate issue, with the potential to escalate into larger conflicts if not handled with care. The South China Sea, a critical commercial waterway, is a ticking time bomb in the fight for global peace. Moving to Africa and Asia, we find border disputes that have persisted for decades. Starting with the African continent, we find Sudan and South Sudan embroiled in a dispute over the Abyei region. Abyei, a region rich in oil reserves, has been a bone of contention between the two countries for over half a century. Both nations claim sovereignty over this economically desirable region, leading to ongoing conflict and challenging the stability of the region. Turning our gaze towards Asia, we encounter a long-standing dispute between China and Taiwan. Taiwan has been governing itself independently since the year 1949. However, Beijing views Taiwan as an integral part of its territory. Insisting on its right to unify Taiwan with the mainland, China has even suggested the use of force if deemed necessary. This dispute has not only threatened the peace of both territories but also raised concerns about potential international implications. Continuing with the Asian continent, we find another dispute rooted high in the Himalayas. This is the territorial disagreement between India and China over a region stretching 2,100 miles. The root of this dispute lies in an ill-defined border, with rivers, lakes, and snowcaps causing the line of control to shift. This ambiguity often brings soldiers face to face, leading to confrontations that increase tensions between these two populous nations. These disputes, whether they be over resources as in the case of Sudan and South Sudan, political ideology as with China and Taiwan, or geographic boundaries as in the case of India and China, pose significant threats to regional peace. More importantly, they have the potential to disrupt global harmony. In a world that is more interconnected than ever, the ripple effects of these conflicts can be felt far beyond their geographical confines. Understanding these disputes is key to fostering dialogue and promoting resolutions that can ensure long-lasting peace. Only then can we hope to move towards a world where these conflicts are a thing of the past, and peaceful coexistence is the norm. These disputes not only threaten regional peace but also have the potential to disrupt global harmony. In South America, the Middle East, and the Korean Peninsula, border disputes continue to fuel tensions. In South America, Venezuela and Guyana are locked in a long-standing dispute over the Essequibo region. This sprawling area, larger than many countries, is rich in resources and represents about 2/3 of Guyana's total territory. Venezuela has claimed this region for over a century, a stance that Guyana firmly rejects. This disagreement has led to sporadic incidents and continues to strain relations between the two nations. Meanwhile, in the Middle East, Israel and Lebanon are grappling with a maritime border dispute. The contention centers on a stretch of the Mediterranean Sea, believed to be rich in oil and gas reserves. Both nations lay claim to this area, with Israel already proceeding with exploration and drilling, further escalating the tensions. In the same region, Armenia and Azerbaijan have been embroiled in a territorial dispute over the Nagorno-Karabakh region, a conflict that has erupted into full-blown war on more than one occasion. Despite a ceasefire agreement, the situation remains volatile with sporadic clashes and a lingering threat of escalated conflict. Lastly, we turn to the Korean Peninsula. The division of North and South Korea is a relic of the Cold War, a line drawn by outside powers that has solidified into a heavily militarized border. Despite multiple summits and talks, the two Koreas remain technically at war, keeping the region, and the world, on a knife's edge. These disputes underscore the global nature of border conflicts and their potential to destabilize peace. These are not isolated incidents, but part of a broader pattern where borders, drawn by colonial powers or through wars, have left a legacy of conflict. And as we've seen, these disputes can escalate quickly, threatening not just regional, but global peace. As we move forward, it's crucial to remember that every border dispute is a potential flashpoint, a spark that could ignite a much larger fire. Lastly, we turn to one of the most contentious border disputes of our time, Kashmir. Born out of the partition of British India in 1947, the Kashmir conflict has been a source of tension between two nuclear-armed nations, India and Pakistan, for over 70 years. The partition established a Muslim-majority Pakistan and a Hindu-majority India, but left the princely state of Kashmir, with its majority Muslim population and Hindu ruler, in a state of limbo. Since then, the picturesque valley of Kashmir has been claimed by both India and Pakistan in its entirety, leading to 3 wars and numerous skirmishes along the line of control, the de facto border. The conflict has not only devastated the region and its people, but also holds severe implications for global peace. The Kashmir conflict serves as a stark reminder of the potential fallout from unresolved border disputes. As we've seen, border disputes are more than lines on a map. They represent centuries-old histories, cultural identities, and economic interests, often tangled in a complex web of politics and power. From Russia's annexed territories to the disputed waters of the South China Sea, from the Abyei region between Sudan and South Sudan to the Himalayan region between India and China, these disputes are not merely regional concerns. They are global issues with widespread implications. These disputes, if left unresolved, could escalate into full-scale conflicts, potentially dragging the world into a third world war. The tensions between India and Pakistan over Kashmir, for instance, is a stark reminder of the risk of conflict between two nuclear-armed rivals. Similarly, the territorial disputes between China and its neighbors cast a long shadow over peace in the Asia-Pacific region, threatening to destabilize the global balance of power. Moreover, the economic implications cannot be ignored. The South China Sea, for instance, is a crucial shipping route, with over one-third of global maritime trade passing through its waters. Any disruption could have far-reaching effects on global trade and economy. In Africa, the rich oil reserves in the Abyei region are a source of economic desire for both Sudan and South Sudan. The dispute over this region has the potential to disrupt not only the economies of these two countries but also the global oil market. And let's not forget the human cost. Border disputes often result in displacement, loss of livelihoods, and even loss of lives. They exacerbate existing social and economic inequalities and can lead to humanitarian crises. The resolution of these disputes is a crucial step towards achieving global peace. But the question remains, how do we get there? It requires diplomatic dialogue, international cooperation, and respect for international law. It requires acknowledging the complexities of these disputes and seeking solutions that are fair and just. It requires the courage to move beyond narrow national interests and work towards a world where borders are not sources of conflict, but bridges of cooperation.